Patterns, they are all around us. You can see parents and buildings. Patterns are used in clothing and design, and patterns are everywhere in math. Just look at the numbers on this ruler, the lines on the ruler, the lines on the paper. You might be wondering, what do patterns do? Well, patterns do the same things over and over again. Patterns repeat. Now, this is super cool. Every pattern follows a special rule. The rule is how the pattern works. We will give you an example. Look at these patterns. It begins with a red rectangle, followed by a yellow rectangle. Next is a red rectangle and another yellow rectangle. Next is a red rectangle, followed by another yellow rectangle. It's doing the same thing over and over again. So, what special rule does this pattern follow? Well, rectangle alternate between red and yellow. Do you see that the rule tells us how the pattern works? In this pattern, rectangles alternate between red and yellow. So, remember, every patterns follow a special rule. The rule is how the pattern works. If you figure out the rule, you have cracked the pattern's code. Even if there is part on the pattern missing, you will be able to find it because you cracked the code. Here's the pattern we just showed you. Imagine the missing shape. What belongs in this shape? Well, let's think of this pattern's rule. Rectangles alternate between red and yellow. So, what color rectangle goes here? Yeah, a red rectangle. Alright, we have another pattern here. Instead of shapes, we have numbers in this pattern. The first thing we need to do is find out what makes this pattern. Look at each of the numbers and see if you can see a pattern. What rule does this pattern follow? Do you know? Yeah, you always add 1 to get the next number. Every number goes up by 1 each time. That is the pattern. Great job. Okay, now we are going to play a game called Complete the Pattern. We will show you a pattern and then you can try to crack the code and complete it. Here is the first one. You will notice there are a lot of shapes here. So we should probably just look at the pattern line by line and see what we discover. On this first line we can see a green circle, a blue square and a green circle. It's almost like a blue square sandwich. The second line is similar to the first except there are 2 squares in between the green circles instead of just one. The third line is just like the second line except there are 3 blue squares in between the green circles instead of 2. Not the pattern? So let's complete this pattern. How many blue squares are in this fourth line? Yeah, 4 in this fourth line has 4 blue squares in between the green circles. How can we know that? Will the blue squares increase by 1 each line? The blue squares in between the green circles keep growing by 1 every line. That's how this pattern works. Great job. Let's look at the next pattern. Oh, hamster followed by 2 birds. Then there is a hamster and then there is a missing one that we have to complete it, and a bird and then the hamster and then the 2 birds. Now you can imagine the missing one. Goodbye.